Well, greetings, folks. I'd like to call to order the 20th regular meeting of the Board of Directors of SCD 52, and if Jessica could lead us in the pledge, that would be most appreciated. Thank you. Our first order of business will be to act on the minutes of the 19th regular meeting, and that was June 2nd. Any errors or omissions in those? Seeing none, accept those under general consent. Brings us to communications. Kim.
I would like to report the following resignations. Lexi Benson, Turner Primary School Pre-K EdTech 2, effective June 16th. Isaiah Davis, 11th Area High School National Honor Society Advisor, just that part of it, also effective June 16th. Garrett Christian, Turner Elementary School Technology Teacher, also effective today. Catherine Robitaille, Turner Elementary School Classroom Teacher, effective today. And Papawati Puk, Human, Tripp Middle School Social Worker, also effective today.
Thank you. Any adjustments to the agenda for this evening?
Yes, please remove item 9.9, which is approval to allow collection boxes in MSAD 52 schools for book donations to the Turner Public Library annually in May and June. I think there'll be a further conversation with the library about that later this summer.
Thank you. That brings us to committee reports. Finance, Yuri.
We have not met this week.
Not met. PTB, Jessica.
We have not met.
Not met. Curriculum policy, Joanne.
We have not met, but we have some policies for you. I guess because you enjoy policies.
Yes.
And the things that we had discussed but hadn't brought to you.
Thank you. And that brings us to administrator reports. Building principals will report on the closing of schools and summer work.
Good evening, everybody. So the close of schools this week went quite smoothly. Students, underclass students, completed finals over the last several days. Yep, I've lost track of what I was going to say. So they completed finals over the last couple of days. In addition, the upcoming ninth graders were here on Tuesday to visit their new HBT advisor and tour the building, check out all the important places, cafeteria, classrooms, all that good stuff. As far as summer work is concerned, we have quite a bit going on here at school. We have a credit recovery happening today, starting today. So we have a few students here recovering some credit, doing some summer work. Additionally, we'll have the summer institutes that the trustees sponsor that'll be happening in the next couple of weeks, where they'll be doing their river project, where they're going to take a different angle on it this summer. And they're also going to be doing a project with the Norlands. The Norlands has asked, or we reached out to them, and they're looking for some lessons to work on with younger students when they come to the Norlands. So our students are going to work on that. And in addition to that, I think they're going to do some work with the video production and maybe some promotional videos for the Norlands. So that's going to be exciting work. And as far as building and grounds work is concerned, probably the biggest project that's happening here this summer, the new clocks will be being installed. The vendor will be here on Tuesday next week to begin the work, and with any luck, to start school, we will have functioning clocks in all of our classrooms, which will be an amazing upgrade. So, any questions for me tonight? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. so I'm reporting for Jana and Sean from Tripp Middle School. And Jana wrote, although COVID hit the TMS staff hard the last few weeks of school, we were able to rally together and pull off a solid and strong ending to the 2021-2022 school year. Monday, TMS hosted 6th graders for a field day where they spent their morning with peers from all 3 towns and then learned their new teams and advisors for next year. Our hope was to introduce them to some of the places, spaces, and people they would be with next year, easing anxieties about transition. The feedback on this was very positive, and we plan to continue with this as a new tradition. Tuesday, we hosted our own TMS field day, followed by the 8th grade recognition and promotion ceremony at Levitt Tuesday evening. The event was well attended by students, staff, and families, all very proud to celebrate the class of 2026. And while I'm here, I will report on Turner Elementary School end of the year. The end of the year was busy at TES. On Monday, June 13th, our 6th graders participated in a field day at Tripp Middle School. Later that evening, we recognized their elementary school efforts during a celebration ceremony held outside, and it didn't rain. The teachers were right. As we sat down, the winds picked up, we could hear thunder. Actually, I lied. It did rain right at the very end. Our teacher, Mr. Remington, finished what he had to say, which was a nice end to the evening. He put down the microphone and the skies opened for about a minute, maybe 2. So that worked out very well. On Tuesday, June 14th, we held our field day for all 3rd through 6th graders. One of our teachers, Jenna Aldrich, and the planning committee, comprised of staff, created a fun and safe day for all students. We were even able to welcome volunteers to help, which was really nice. And then on June 15th, our students in grades 3 through 5 met their new teachers, and all students took their report cards home. And there were some tears. So that's all I have to report for Turner Elementary School. Any questions?
Thank you.
Good evening. Just some overviews about the wrap-up at Green Central School. I'd like to start by mentioning the GCS Garden, which is organized by Nurse Paula Aldrich, and that's been driven by her passion around gardening. We've got a fairly small yet robust planting. She'd organized donations of soil, seedlings, and other garden necessities, a couple of which you'll see on your agenda this evening. Kids have participated in the upkeep, particularly watering and weeding, and so far the GCS kitchen staff has harvested lettuce and spinach for salads right to our own cafeteria, so we look forward to be able to continue the farm-to-table connection activities. On June 6th, GCS held its Bikes for Books assembly. That program was sponsored by the Webster Masonic Lodge number 164 over in Wales. Students tracked their reading April through the first part of May. Teachers helped the kids track, and as they read books, they got a punch card. When the books finished for that particular punch card, they were submitted. And then the drawings were done. 2 kids from each grade level were awarded one of 16 bicycles donated by the Masons, and then in addition, the Masons put in 4 additional bicycles for kids who had worked extraordinarily hard but hadn't won. So the bikes were also fully assembled by the Masons, and each one included a helmet. So we're greatly, greatly appreciative of the community connection and the Masons' generosity. On June 8th, we held a quick assembly for the Amanda Boyd Friendship Awards, which were presented. Teachers nominated students for their exemplary demonstration of what it means to be a friend to all. Avery Schlobel, Fiona Brown, and Acadia Dunton were each honored as recipients this year, and their parents surprised them at the assembly as their certificates were given, so there were a lot of warm tears there as well. On June 9th, Green Central School held our 6th grade celebration. Students were honored for the completion of their hard work doing their course of study throughout their time at GCS. Parents organized a celebration after the assembly, and it was really wonderful to see everybody back with full facial smiles. It was very, very heartwarming. That was again the same night as the budget validation, so I was able to do my speech quickly and then scoot over. That's why I was a little bit late. GCS, we also held our field day on Friday, June 10th. We've been busy. And that was spearheaded by our own inimitable PE teacher, Derek Jordan. He had a variety of creative and really engaging activities for our kids, duck races, different relays, water relay, tic-tac-toe, high pan relays, catch a bottle tag, chicken flinger dinner, and a pizza delivery battle. Huge highlight of that was the water slide. So if you're interested in seeing what a 50 by 100 foot tarp looks like on a hill when you add water, enthusiastic kids, and then dishwashing soap to decrease friction, please check out the GCS Facebook page. It's a lot of fun. Yesterday, I was honored to announce the final monthly student awards. As part of our school-wide PBIS each month, GCS acknowledges a student, sometimes more than one, from each classroom who exhibits a positive character trait highlighted for that month, be it respect, responsibility, kindness, teamwork, etc. June was Teacher's Choice, including recognition like super scientist, morning work magician, artistic skills, storytelling, creativity, compassion towards others, etc. And that was an honor for me to read each student's name on the intercom in the morning, and then hear about the reactions in the classrooms as I read them. Also, for the second time this year, GCS was able to provide the Bill and Marion Vero Awards, thanks to the generous donation of Dr. Heidi Vero, their daughter, on behalf of our parents who are huge education advocates. GCS has once again been able to recognize students with a certificate and a $20 gift card for each of them from Books A Million. For this most recent round, teachers recognized students from their class, again for a variety of reasons: perseverance, thoughtfulness, joy of reading, kindness to others, etc. So congratulations to our recipients. Special thanks to Dr. Vero for her donation to allow this great award to continue. Shameless plug at this time, the Green Gators Parent-Teacher Committee has scheduled its meetings for the 2022-23 school year. We're really excited because we had kind of somewhat of a little dormant parent-teacher group for a while, and we're excited. There's a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of energy. So the monthly meetings will typically be held on the third Monday of the month at 6 p.m. in the GCS library. Please mark your calendars. For more information, please also check out the Green Gators PTC Facebook page. And GCS Open House, I know, we just ended school yesterday, but our open house is scheduled for Monday, September 29th from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. More details to come. And in addition to our enthusiastic staff members greeting students, they will have reps from the Green Gators PTC there to answer questions. As far as summertime, we're already planning and preparing for the start of next school year. We've been doing that for a couple of months now. Work this summer will include necessary hiring for vacant positions. There will also be summer meetings with PBIS Universal Team, Advanced Tier Team, and our Building Leadership Team to support our next steps as we begin the 22-23 school year. That's about it from Green. Does anybody have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, over at Leeds Central School, our end of the year activities began probably about the end of May, when normally our sixth graders would have taken a trip to Boston, but because of COVID, it hasn't happened for the last couple of years. And the new field trip that's replaced it is visiting Central Maine Community College. And believe it or not, those kids had such a great time there. They were just as excited about doing that as driving on a long bus ride to Boston and taking a whole entire day. They had a blast, and they're so excited, and it's great for their aspirations. They know that they can go to this local community college when they graduate, and that's one of their options. And they had a terrific day. But then they also have visited Tripp Middle School, so that they've got a sense of what that looked like and how big it is, and they got to meet all their UA teachers. And then last Friday we had our field day for our whole school, and that was organized by our phys ed teacher, Tammy Scott. She put a lot of time and effort into that, because also this time we were able to have volunteers back again, and that was so amazing to have those parents there. It just made such a big difference, and we just loved having the parents back to help us, and I believe they had a good time too. On Monday night we had our sixth grade celebration. That was also quite amazing. I'm a photographer who takes a lot of pictures of the kids, so I have 8 years of pictures of these kids that have, like 14 out of the 23 that were there have been in our school since pre-K, so I had tons of pictures of them, but I whittled it down to a 23-minute slideshow where they each had about a minute, and it showed them from like I had their baby pictures from when I did the yearbook, and then their pre-K pictures, and a few pictures of them over the years, and up to what they look like now. And it was so nice to see how they've grown, and they just felt like such a family together. Our last day of school yesterday was it yesterday? Yeah, it was. It was just yesterday. It was kind of quiet because we normally actually have a talent show on that day, and it didn't get organized this year, so that was kind of low-key. But everyone has gone for their well-deserved break. We haven't done our planning for next year yet because we're going to take a break in July, and then the first week in August we'll get our PBIS team back together and our building leadership team together, and we'll start making plans for next year so that we can get off to a fresh start. And everyone's hopeful that all this COVID restriction stuff will be behind us and we can return to what we consider normal at school. Thank you.
Thank you. Sounds like things have been busy. And I'm really surprised, Daniel, you didn't mention anything about, I heard rumors of a dunk tank at least one of the field days, so that sounded much appreciated. Thanks everybody for all the hard work that's gone into things, and hope everyone takes a few moments for a break this summer. That brings us to the superintendent's report. Kim.
Well, I would like to introduce everyone to Kimberly Fuller. Kim, do you want to stand up so we can all stare at you? Kim will be the new principal at Turner Primary School beginning on July 1st. And I'd asked her to come tonight so we could put a face with a name. Kim, we're all very, very excited to have you begin. Interview committee was overjoyed to have you become the new principal.
Well, thank you. I'm very, very excited.
Okay, so as I reflect on the past 6 years, I am grateful to many. To our teachers, nurses, service providers, ed techs, counselors, social workers, librarians, IT department, administrative support professionals, food service, custodial, transportation, and maintenance professionals, adult ed, and central office staff. Thank you for feeding, supporting, caring for, listening to, providing medical advice, and teaching our students through in-person, hybrid, remote, and the revolving door of quarantining. Nothing stopped you from focusing on students and helping them. You have been a steady, supportive presence during a very unsettling time, and your collective brilliance has made all the difference for our students. It has been a great pleasure working with you. To our principals, assistant principals, our dean, and directors, your collaborative approach, creative thinking, and dedication to students over these years has been exemplary and has made it possible for us to navigate all of the challenges that we have faced. Thank you for your leadership, your brilliance, and your commitment to the team. It has been a true honor to work with you. I hope that all of our MSAD 52 employees will always remember that through the strategic planning process, our families, students, and community members told us that the district's greatest strength is our great caring educators. And all 407, might be a little more than that now, of us are educators. Our greatest strength is you, and I couldn't agree more. There are great challenges ahead with learning gaps, mental health issues, and behaviors, but we've got this. In addition to our school counselors and social workers, substance use counselor, and spur-wing counselors, we will also have general education social workers at the elementary level to help support students with mental health and behaviors. And we will have a skilled instructional coach in each school to collaborate with teachers to address the learning gaps. So yes, there are big challenges ahead, and the MSAD 52 team will face and overcome them. To our families, thank you for supporting the schools during this unbelievably challenging time, for communicating with your children's teachers, for reaching out to let us know how we can do better for our students. Students benefit greatly when families and schools partner. Thank you for your continued partnership. To our students, you continue to learn through everything, and you're making good progress. The class of 2020 graduated in the parking lot behind the high school, almost everyone in their cars except to walk across the stage. The class of 2021 graduated at the Auburn-Lewiston Airport, and we only had to pause once when a plane took off and we couldn't hear anything. And finally, the class of 2022 graduated at the Colisee, which was a welcomed return to tradition. Students, in spite of all the disruption, you persevered. Thank you. To the MSAD 52 School Board, it has not been easy to be a board member through this pandemic. You have been faced with many difficult decisions and strong, often conflicting opinions on so many topics. You have remained steady in your leadership, always focused on students and staff, their safety, and their learning. Thank you. And that's why MSAD 52 has been, is, and will continue to be a great school district. We're always all pitching in, and we're all about the kids. I am grateful for the time I've spent with you and the good work that we've done together. I wish the district, all its employees, students, families, and board members the very best.
Thank you. That brings us to public comment. Do we have folks interested in public comment? I will read through the policies and make sure that we're all on the same page on that. The following guidelines shall apply to public participation at board meetings. Citizens and employees of the school unit are welcome to participate as provided in this policy. Others may be recognized to speak at the chair's discretion. Individual employees and/or employee groups will not be permitted to discuss matters for which complaint or grievance procedures are provided. The chair may limit the time allotted for comments on a particular topic as well as the time each individual may speak, and that's 3 minutes at this point. Oh, in the event of a sizable audience, we probably don't need to cover that. During the time set aside for public participation, the chair will be responsible for recognizing all speakers who must identify themselves as they begin talking. Speakers are not permitted to share gossip, make defamatory comments, or use abusive or vulgar language. All speakers are to address the chair and direct questions or comments to particular board members and the superintendent only with approval of the chair. Requests for information or concerns that require further research may be referred to the superintendent to be addressed at a later time. Members of the board and the superintendent may ask questions of any person who addresses the board, but are expected to refrain from arguing or debating issues. Questions must be addressed through the chair. No complaints or allegations will be allowed at board meetings concerning any person employed by the school system or against particular students. Personal matters or complaints concerning student or staff issues will not be considered in a public meeting, but will be referred through established policies and procedures. In order to make efficient use of meeting time, the board discourages duplication or repetition of comments to the board. The board requests that groups or organizations be represented by designated spokespersons. The chair has the authority to stop any presentation that violates these guidelines or the privacy rights of others. All right, who's our first speaker?
Good evening. My name is Jenny Mayu. I am here as a business owner, I guess is kind of what you say. My husband and I are co-owners who work at Her Orchards, and I just wanted to come out and commend the Trip Middle School 8th grade class. They came to the farm for their field day, and they were amazing. They left our facility better than they found it. The staff was phenomenal and made sure everything got picked up. The kids were great. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of hesitated when they contacted us. Normally our age group is a little bit younger, but I'm gonna say their name wrong, God help me. Mrs. Leonard was great at making sure that they had a schedule that was well entertained. So I just kind of wanted to give them a public shout out and also to the staff at Trip Middle School. Am I supposed to sign this paper? Up here? Doesn't matter.
Yes, is there a pen?
There is not a pen.
It will just, the notes will reflect that you spoke. Thank you, and thanks for sharing a positive note. That's always a nice thing to hear. Exactly, muffled, slightly muffled clapter.
I'm testing those public
I don't think-
speaking skills I haven't used since college.
There you go.
And I'm a little nervous.
Excellent,
Ow.
excellent. So now would not be the time to remind you of the whole YouTube aspect of all of this.
No, we'll talk about that later. Thank you guys. Have a great summer.
Thank you again.
Thank you. Jimmy Childs, please. I want to thank you all for all you do for our kids. You know, Miss Harris, you're really good to my son, and I appreciate that. And I know that the rest of you are the same. That's why you're in this industry. So, yeah, public comment, board meetings have been a little tough, but You guys are probably used to fairly empty rooms, so it's a little different, and I hope that maybe we've been a little bit of an influence on you, you know, in some aspects. I know I'm not here just spitting lies and telling false stories. I appreciate everything you guys have done, and I'm trying to learn through this too. And so Sheila Lyman, she was educated for 36 years. I went to a thing a couple weeks ago called Hidden Agendas with Heidi Sampson and Miss Sheila Lyman. She put her whole reputation on the line for what I've been talking about that's in some of the ESSER stuff about what they're trying to push on the social agenda they're trying to push in schools. Now, a few people said that it ain't really happening in this school, and I think that's great. So if so, let's try to find a way to keep it out of the school, and if it is, maybe find a way to block some things. You know, I mean, there's just, you know, if you guys, I probably, you don't really know what I'm talking about if none of you have looked through the paperwork that I've given you just a little bit. You know, you'll never know. It's just a bunch of gobbledygook. So it'd be benefit all of our kids in the schools to maybe look through a little or do a little research. You know, my daughter's 25 years old. I've grown up, I've seen a lot of generational growth. I've seen kids that my mother watched and now they're in their 30s. Kids today are different. My daughter came to me today and said to Dad, I'm now going to be your son. I would love her to death. She'd be welcomed at my house. So it's not about me. That's an adult decision. It's an adult thing. And I say that because this stuff's being pushed through schools. You know, if you think back of our life, when we get 14, 15, 16, we think we know everything. But you know, you're 18, you know a lot, in your 20s, but you really don't understand a lot until you live through all your 20s and all your 30s, you know? And you have kids, and you get to look at your kids. And like with me, I look at my little boy, you know? Like I said, I've raised an adult. I have a boy that's going to be 9, one that's going to be 4, and I watch the vulnerability on these children, the innocence, the things that we love most about our kids. They're just, you know, that innocence. At what time does that innocence become maturity to where you could make a life-changing decision? You know, like even if you think back of yourself, when was you mature enough to make a life-changing decision? You know, like gender therapy. You know, and if you look at your kids, at what age?
We're at 3 minutes.
At what age would you think your kid could make that decision? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Anyone else for public comment tonight?
Thank you guys for doing that.
Thank you, folks. That brings us to old business, which we have none. Let's try the consent agenda. Would entertain a motion for the list. Kathy, do we have a second? Yuri? All those in favor? Unanimous? That brings us to new business, 9.1. That would be instructional nominations. Kim?
The Turner Primary School Selection Committee is very pleased to nominate Mary Rowley, who brings with her 10 years of teaching experience in grade 1 in Augusta, Maine, as well as New Hampshire. She has a Master of Science in Education from Thomas College, and she has had some additional credits beyond that at University of Maine in Orono. Ms. Rowley has demonstrated the ability to differentiate instruction to meet the needs of all students, and she analyzes data to drive instruction. When I met Mrs. Rowley, I was very happy with her depth of knowledge and her excitement about looking at each student individually, figuring out where they are, and taking them to the next step in their learning.
Thank you. Do we have a motion on this one?
So moved.
Yuri, do we have a second? Kathy? All those in favor? Unanimous? That brings us to item 9.2, and 9.2 is to report the completion of the probationary period for the following employees: Kathleen McNeil, Levitt Area High School custodian; Carrie Tucker, TES, EdTech 3, ASP; Amy Oliver, Lead Central School, Special Ed, EdTech 1; Jennifer Ford, Lead Central School, Food Service; Penny Layton, Levitt Area High School, Food Service; Roger Brenner, District-wide Bus Driver; Mary Beth LaRoche, Tripp Middle School, Special Ed Ed Tech 3, Jasmine Harris, Tripp Middle School, Special Ed Ed Tech 1, Paul Henry, district-wide bus driver. Item 9.3 is certification of votes from the budget validation referendum. And I think board members have in their packet, remind me if we need to do this by town separately or if we may simply move to certify those votes.
So I believe we can do them all as a group, or we can do them separately just to be sure.
I'm open to whatever the pleasure of the board is as far as a motion or a series of motions on this one.
I would move to accept the budget validation referendum vote count for all 3 towns.
So the motion is to accept and to certify those votes from the budget validation referendum from all 3 towns. Do we have a second?
Second.
Kyle? Discussion on this one? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous? Thank you. 9.4 is another housekeeping step, which is approval of assessment to the towns for 2022-23. These numbers reflect the numbers with the approved budget. So we need a motion, and I think folks have that in their packet, and the motion would be that the assessment warrant and the assessment schedule prepared by the treasurer for each member municipality of Maine School Administrative District 52 for fiscal year 2022-23 be approved and be issued in form presented to this meeting, and that the treasurer be authorized and directed to deliver to each member municipality its assessment warrant and its assessment schedule. Do we have a motion for that one?
So moved.
Yuri, do we have a second? Kathy, thank you. Discussion on this one? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous. 9.5, reflection on fiscal year 23 budget process. Every year at the conclusion of the budget process, we try to, while it's still fresh in our minds, try to surface some of the different questions and comments that have come up in order to reflect those and trying to continue to improve the process. And this year is no different than any other. I think there have been lots of comments, everything from is the timing right on the mailer that goes to all the houses in the district. It seemed like that was pretty far ahead of the vote, and there were lots of folks that weren't able to easily lay their hands on that by the time we got to an actual vote, to some excellent points about both the timeliness and the accuracy of information that was up on our website and available in the town offices. So those are certainly things that we need to work on for next year. One of the $1 million questions I think that comes up every year is how best to communicate details of the budget if folks are interested in that process. And I think the board's always open to suggestions on how we do that better. Our meetings are more broadly available to folks in the communities, being televised as regularly as they are, a little bit more broadly than they were on the green cable channel for a bit. But again, if there are board members that have thoughts on how we might improve, or Kim as well, any parting thoughts on how we might do things better next year?
Yes, Betsy, you hit on a few just now. I would say that the process for us for years has started in late February, and we hold the budget meetings and we discuss certain warrant articles, and the board goes line by line at each budget meeting around those. However, as you said, that's very early, and it takes a while before you actually get to the voting that happens generally in May. So I would say it might be worthwhile to consider moving that a little bit forward. And maybe the board would want to consider having the BVR during the state elections anyway, because I do believe that brings out more voters. I also recognize that that is additional work for our town clerks, and I've greatly appreciated that this year. I also feel that we could do, so my MSAD 52 updates, and whatever Carrie does next year, could be done before each board meeting, each budget meeting, to say, here are the warrant articles and here are some of the highlights in each of those warrant articles, so that people are aware of what some of the bigger items are going to be proposed in each of those warrant articles for discussion that week. So that might work out well. We could do additional Facebook posts on that. I agree with you, getting the information up on the website this year was slow, and two of our towns had the binder, we thought that towns all had their binders and they didn't, because of a staff member who's been out. And so we'll have to make sure that that happens as well.
Thank you. Board members have any other thoughts on how we might improve the process? And then just a reminder, this is not a one-time question. As we proceed through the year, if folks have thoughts on how that might work more effectively or better. Jessica?
I know when we had to do our Zoom meetings, we allowed public comment to come in via email, and I wonder if prior to maybe our last budget meeting that we could allow that public comment back through email again, which would give people the opportunity to send in questions.
Definitely something to consider. Other thoughts? And other thoughts from anyone who's here. I mean, not necessarily board members, and certainly the same applies. If you think of things after today, don't hesitate. Mr. Childs?
I don't really have a thought on how to get it out better, but I just wanted to reiterate a little bit that, like last time, it was 239 people voted, and this time it was 1,523, so that was an increase of around like 1,284, and and it still only passed by 153, so like before when you said, oh, it was a low turnout, you know what I mean? Like this was like a 6 times more turnout, and it barely passed, and I mean, I voted, I was going to make an amendment and add 96,000 more, and there was like 5 other people that have voted with me, so like just for like some type of school safety thing, which I've been talking about and stuff, and so I think if somehow that was put into the next one, like I would have voted on for the first one, the original, or even more money. I mean, we'll pay more money for school safety, so for me, it was never too much. I mean, yeah, you're going to pay less in taxes and stuff, but it's a school safety thing, whether it's some type of cameras that go towards police stations or just, whatever new technology is out there. I think more people will vote on it for the first time, like you would have had a lot more than 153 this time if you was able to implement, something. And I mean, you got more time to think about that for next time. So.
Thank you. Ms. Nicholas?
I admit that I was feeling ill and did not come for the budget meeting, and I did not have a chance to go to the town office to finally get that copy of the budget. I just wanted to know if anywhere in the budget there is sort of a plain speak of, in other words, we spend this amount of money for, as I've heard you guys talking about, instructional coaches, and this is what those people do, so that we have a concrete idea of how that money is getting spent. Because some of what I had already seen is rather abstract for me. Again, I did not go and get that other copy of it that was provided at the town office, and maybe that is very detailed. So just to have that in mind, that the warrant articles, I think, are very abstract for us to put our hands on, or to kind of wrap our heads around. But thank you. Just wanted to.
Thank you. Yes, and typically the information that's provided in that binder to the towns is all the way the other extreme. It's detailed to the point of like these 62 pencils are $4.32. So absolutely, but
then that will be what I need. So thank you.
But I think your question echoes some of those that were asked at our last budget meeting as well. Just better, whether it's additional framing around what exactly is contained in those warrant articles and what's in the spaghetti sauce. So thank you. If there are any other thoughts this evening, that's great. If not, as we launch into the process again this next year, there's always room for improvement, and we'll look forward to continued work on that. That brings us to item 9.6, and 9.6 is approval of donation of zucchini and cucumber seedlings to Green Central School Garden. I will say, accepting zucchini seedlings is a very brave sort of endeavor. Do we have a motion for that?
So,
Kathy? Do we have a second?
no second.
Jessica? Any discussion on this one? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous. Good luck. 9.7, approval of donation of tomato seedlings to Green Central School Garden. Do we have a motion on this one?
So,
Kathy? Do we have a second?
Second.
Jessica? Discussion on this one?
How many tomato seedlings?
Yeah, exactly. How many tomato seedlings?
I don't know.
Yes. 8.
I was gonna say enough to cover the garden, yeah.
Excellent. 8 tomato seedlings. Right.
We'll need help with that.
Excellent. Any other discussion on this one? All those in favor? Unanimous. Good luck with the gardening endeavors. 9.8, approval of Levitt Area High School Key Club fundraiser for the Dempsey Center. Do we have a motion on this one?
so moved.
Kathy? Second.
Second.
Jessica? Discussion on this one? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous. That brings us to, with the adjustment of the removal of 9.9, discussion of special education program at Green Central School. Who shall I turn that over to? Kim?
Oh, Rebecca.
Rebecca and Doug?
Good evening again. Ms. Drysdale, and you can say that, it's okay. Yeah. Ms. Drysdale and I are going to give you a little bit of information on behalf of our behavior support program that's housed at Green Central. So first, a little bit of history. There's been a special needs program in existence at Green Central Schools since 2008. Our program, much like the autism support program and the functional support program, is a district-wide program that is simply housed at Green Central School. And our program began as a day treatment program modeled after the collaborative school and included wraparound mental health services and incorporated into the school day, along with academic instruction in a generally self-contained setting. That program started with 1 classroom the first year, then expanded to 2 classrooms the second year based on the need to support students with additional needs. Around year 5, the program model changed to an Inspire model, similar to the STAR program in a nearby district. The staff realized that while the collaborative had its own school building, the program at GCS was housed within a full school, and that difference was important. It was found that there was an opportunity for greater connection between the students in the program and the students and the staff throughout the rest of the school. So the revision provided many more opportunities for students to be with their grade level peers, lunch, recess, specials, content areas, which is more in line with special education regulations under the least restrictive environment. The program shifted again to be called the Behavior Support Program. That was in 2020, aligning with the other district programs in their title, such as the Autism Support Program and the Functional Skills Program. Our Behavior Support Program has struggled to recruit and maintain appropriate staffing levels. Over the last 14 years, we've employed 13 teachers, at least 26 ed techs, and 2 social workers. We've serviced 59 students, 13 of which have been placed in out-of-district programs by their IEP teams due to their higher level of needs. However, not without the district striving to meet those needs in the least restrictive environment. We brought 2 students back from out-of-district programming through the behavioral program. And in the last 3 years, the number of students had decreased due due to low staffing levels, resulting in 4 students being placed in out-of-district programming. So Ms. Drysdale is going to continue to give you a little bit of updated information.
All right. So thank you. As Principal Parkler had noted, staffing is an issue. Staffing is an issue through special education, but in particular this program at Green. In these last 3 years, we've not been able to maintain teachers throughout the entire school year, where we would hire a teacher in the fall, and by the end of the school year, they would have left. As a response to this and the changing needs of our students, we've taken the opportunity in through the pandemic to consult with an outside provider, an outside professional, where we work to redesign the program once again. During the same time, in a response to students' needs, we've also developed a partnership with the Woodford's program through the Manchester offices, and we've been able to provide ed techs and BHPs in time with a board-certified behavioral analyst in our neighborhood schools and in our behavior program through an insurance model. This year, we contracted with a teacher through Woodford's, thinking this would be kind of the partnership of the Woodford's and the behavioral support program. And this teacher had dual roles. They were a teacher, and they were also held the title of a board-certified behavior analyst. So in doing those 2 roles to the best of his ability, he was also not able to complete the school year with us. So in the last several years, our students with our most behavioral needs have not been able to access a program, so we've taken several different paths. We've had the paths where these students remain at Green Central School, or students have remained in their neighborhood schools with Woodford support, or they've been placed, as Deb had talked about, they've been placed in special purpose private programming. Following the regulations with our students for our students with disabilities, they have the right to be educated with their general education peers. We are required to look for opportunities for our students with these behavioral challenges to be programmed within the district. This has led our team to explore, at this point, other options with special purpose private programming coming into our school at Green to be able to expand the partnership that we weren't able to expand fully with the Woodford's group. So at this time, we are in talks with Margaret Murphy Center for Children to see if this is a possibility in both meeting the regulations and all for our students and also our fiscal responsibilities. This program would service students within the district and support our ability also to bring students back in special purpose private programming, and some of our students do attend Margaret Murphy. If we're unable to just establish this partnership, you will see in the budget and incoming budgets the number of students attending out-of-district placements will increase in order to meet their needs. So as this opportunity evolves, which we're very excited about, we keep being excited thinking, okay, this is going to make the difference, or right, this staff member is going to make the difference, or our planning is going to make the difference. So again, we're excited again, and we will continue to provide the board with information and then answer your questions as they arise.
Questions from board members at this time? Jessica?
Rebecca, is this similar to what Margaret Murphy did for us when we started our autism program?
It is similar, yes. Yep.
At this point, this is simply an update, and we'll have further updates. I would imagine this program has continued to evolve over time.
It has. So we'll continue to provide you updates on the evolution of where we are.
Thank you very much, and thanks for continuing the work on that program. This brings us to item 9.11, and that is first reading and acceptance and second reading and adoption of policy IHCDA, post-secondary enrollment options. Yuri, do we have a second?
Second.
Kathy, discussion on this one. Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous? 9.12, first reading and acceptance and second reading and adoption of policy JICIA, weapons, violence, and school safety. And just for a matter of clarification, typically we have separate first readings and second readings. We're doing these together because it's that time of year. These are by and large reflective of changes in statute. Either Teresa or if somebody could speak to that.
Yes, so the reason that there are so many policies presented to you this evening, Betsy, are exactly that, for first and second reading, because we were hoping not to leave any carried over. When we went through the policies that we looked at this year, there were several that didn't make it to the board for a variety of reasons, so we're asking them to be reviewed. And I can tell you that all these policies that we've reviewed, this one and the one for post-secondary, they're mandatory, and we have updated this to match Maine School Management Association sample policy. So many of them are just adjustments because of law changes or other things, and they were all reviewed by curriculum policy over the year.
Thank you. And do we have a motion on this one? If not, could we do that again?
So moved.
Jessica, Yuri? Any discussion on this one? Kyle?
Will we be able to discuss this further next year, or
We have a couple options. I mean, we can either, what's on the agenda tonight, and the motion is for first reading and acceptance and second reading and adoption. If there's a desire for additional discussion, we could either turn it down and throw it back to the curriculum policy committee, or we could discuss further this evening. Now would be the time for discussion as far as after the motion, but.
Yeah, just there's something that on prohibited conduct under B. It goes into detail pretty much a lot of examples, like replicas of weapons, including toys. What would that consist of?
Teresa, did you hear the question on that?
Yeah, so sometimes if you think about Halloween costumes that come with like a plastic or a rubber knife, some of them might be considered sharp. And this also takes into account, if you look at the use of an object, although not necessarily designed to be a weapon, to inflict bodily harm and to threaten, intimidate, coerce, harass, or bully another person. It really is around the intent of use of that weapon, which could be a toy.
So it would be relatively the teacher or whoever the professional is that would be dealing with it. It could be this here or something of any object, right?
Right, it could be a pencil. I mean, we know that we use pencils in schools to write with, but if a student's using a pencil to threaten or intimidate another student or a staff member, it could be treated as a weapon. It really is around the intention with which it's being used.
Other discussion on this one? And just a reminder on any of these, new verbiage is in bold. Changes show as strikeouts in the policy, changes from the previous policy. Anything else on this one? All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. 9.13, first reading and acceptance and second reading and adoption of policy JIH, questioning and searches of students, and JIHR, questioning and searches of students regulations. Do we have a motion on this one?
So moved.
Yuri? We have a second on this one.
Second.
Second from Jessica on this one. Discussion on this one. Any discussion on this one? If not, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to 9.14, first reading and acceptance and second reading and adoption of policy GBEBB, staff conduct with students. Do we have a motion on this one? Kathy? Do we have a second?
Second.
Joanne? Discussion on this one? Any discussion on this one? If none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to 9.15, first reading and acceptance and second reading and adoption of policy BE, school board meetings. Yuri, do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Kyle. Discussion on this one? All those in favor? Unanimous?
Betsy, can I ask what you said for the, who you named for the second?
Kyle?
Kyle?
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
9.16 is first reading and acceptance and second reading and adoption of policy BEDH, public participation at board meetings. We have a motion on this one. Yuri, we have a second.
Second.
Second from Kathy. Discussion on this one. Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous. 9.17, first reading and acceptance and second reading and adoption of policy IGA, curriculum development. We have a motion on this one. Kathy, second. Yuri, discussion on this one. Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. 9.18, first reading and acceptance and second reading and adoption of policy JLCDA, medical marijuana in schools, and JLCDA E1, parent medical provider request to administer medical marijuana in school. We have a motion on that one.
So moved.
Kathy, we have a second.
Second.
Joanne, thank you. Discussion on this one.
Just mandatory.
Question is this mandatory?
It is not required, we, or I, and we're recommending that we do keep it though, because of the pieces that are put in place if it is to be administered, because it's not administered by a school employee.
This is an existing policy that
It
is,
currently an existing policy, we have updated it to include the recommendations by main school management.
thank you. Any other discussion on this one? Seeing none, all those in favor? Oh, was that discussion or was that voting? Joanne,
What?
were you voting already or was it discussion?
What?
Were you voting already or was it discussion?
I was voting.
Okay, you're jumping the gun. It's okay though. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to 9.21, which is other. You have another?
What?
Joanne has another.
I do have another.
Okay.
After our last meeting, I talked to a teacher from Turner, and pretty much she was impressed with the subs that they've had since we increased the sub pay. She said several retired people had come back to work, and I just don't know where we are with keeping that or whatever, but I was sort of surprised because I really didn't expect it to have that much of an impact when we did it.
Thanks, Joanne. Just a reminder on that, utilizing some of the ESSER funds, we did increase sub-pay through the summer, if I remember correctly. So that will obviously be something that will be on our radar to continue to discuss this year. So back to other again. So I think I have a number of folks who are here at their last meeting this evening before we all wander off into the summer. And I would like to thank a bunch of different people. Kathy, Carrie, thanks for stepping in and joining us again from the great town of Leeds. It's always a pleasure to have you here. Joanne, when you had indicated in your letter that it's been 13 years that you've been on the board, my goodness, time flies. Thank you for your service, and has been, again, I'm still kind of blown away that it's been 13 years, so thank you, and enjoy yourself.
Fast.
It does, it definitely goes fast. Yuri, this is your last meeting as well. Thanks for all of your time, both from Leeds and from Green. So Turner's the only one left, just saying for reference sake. Thanks for all of your work and continued best wishes. We have a couple folks who are not here at the meeting this evening, but we won't see them again. Ryan Patry, we wish him the best of luck in his endeavors as Mr. Flanagan as well. And so this is Kim's last meeting, which seems odd again. So along the same lines as Joanne's 13 years, 6 years, when Kim had said out loud a couple times this year that it's been 6 years, that I don't know. I'm going to take her word that it has actually been 6 years. I think there are some days it's probably seemed longer than 6 years, and some days where it seemed like less time. We have been very fortunate to have your leadership, and hopefully you will think warm, fuzzy things of the district in your retirement. And I would like to give you a token of the board's appreciation, and certainly wish you all the very best in your retirement. And maybe as you're driving by sometime, think of the good things in SAD 52. So thank you again. I know this is sort of anticlimactic at this point, but I would entertain a motion to adjourn as well.
I'll motion.
Kyle, and I think Yuri was making a second there at that point. All those in favor? We appear to be unanimous. Thanks everybody, and have a fantastic summer.